All right, everyone, good morning or good afternoon, and thank you for coming out today to our Lunch and Learn. I'm really excited for everyone that is attending, and we're going to have some more folks rolling in. And if you haven't gotten food yet, please go ahead and do so. But while we are getting settled, getting nourished, I'm going to get started with some of our announcements from Green Spaces. My name is Madison Rawlings. I'm the Director of Sustainability and Events here at Green Spaces, and I am thrilled to have you. Today's Lunch and Learn topic is about deconstruction. We have some great speakers, Dave Bennick and Pat. Pat is a local here in Chattanooga, and they're going to tell you all about deconstruction and the vision for Chattanooga and what we could come to. If you have not visited one of our Lunch and Learns or one of our events before, if you are unfamiliar with Green Spaces, our mission is to advance the sustainability of living, working, and building in the Chattanooga region. And we can't do anything we do without your support. We are a nonprofit, and our goal is to serve. I'm going to hit some of our programs on a high level. If you would like to get in touch with us about learning more, volunteering, or becoming involved, please see me or Wayne, raise your hand, or Rick, raise your hand after the luncheon, and we will be happy to get you plugged in. One of our first programs at Green Spaces is Empower. Empower teaches no-cost and low-cost ways to reduce your energy bill. That is for residents in Hamilton County and the surrounding outer counties, and it is completely free. And if you are interested in hosting a workshop for your friends, neighborhood association, business, we would love to come and tell you about reducing your impact. One of our other amazing programs that came out of Empower actually is Build It Green. We have some Build It Green crew here in the office today. Give it up for them. Yeah. Build It Green is a workforce development program, and they learn a lot of things about weatherization, insulation, and it is a partnership with AmeriCorps. And so throughout this term of service, they are becoming prepared to go out into the world and do their best. We have another program called Green Leader. It's a continuing education certificate that is hosted through Chattanooga State. It's an 8-week modular at your own pace sustainability education certificate. So if you want to learn how to become more sustainable in your business, in your personal life, or for work, please talk to me. I would love to get you started on this curriculum and your sustainability journey. A continuation of education and sustainability is our Green Light program, where we work with businesses or organizations in the Chattanooga region so that they can change the culture of their business to have sustainability at the heart of it. Businesses go through lots of different categories where they inventory their work and things like water management, energy use, waste reduction, and adapting their goals for what's feasible. And through this Green Light directory, or through this Green Light program, we actually have a directory on our website. So if you are looking to support businesses that are trying to make better sustainable steps, you can go on our website, check it out, and say, I want to support sustainable restaurants in Chattanooga, and check out which restaurants are doing some great things. And that's just an example. We've got a whole directory broken down by categories. I really encourage you to go take a look at it. We have Sustainability Professionals of Greater Chattanooga, which is geared towards professionals doing sustainability in their day-to-day work environment. If you are the sustainability person at your business, give me a chat. It's an awesome opportunity to get to know other sustainability professionals in the area, troubleshoot, and work through issues that we might commonly have together. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we can't do anything that we do without the support of the community. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge our founding partners, Compass Commissioning and Franklin Architects. And to our top members, we are a membership-based organization. So that means individuals, businesses, nonprofits can choose to support green spaces so that we can continue to do wonderful things in the community. So some of our top partners, Scenic City Solar, Franklin Architects, Green Strategies, New Terra Compost, AED, and Ruby Falls. And we have additional levels of membership. I want to give a shout out to some of our newest renewed members, TerraCon and Southern Adventist University. Thank you for your support. If you are interested in becoming a member, Mr. Wayne Brown in the back would love to chat with you. Memberships start at just $10 a month individually. And if you're a student, we have student rates as well. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone that showed up last month, just a few weeks ago at the Chattanooga Green Prix. We had a really successful event. We had over 30 schools in Hamilton County come out. We had over 100 volunteers come out, and we can't do anything like that without your help. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of everyone at Green Spaces, for making this program a success. And I want to put a few other events on your calendar. December 2nd is Maine by 24. It is the wildest and wackiest day in Chattanooga, and a personal favorite of mine. One of Green Space's fundraisers that we do is the chili cook-off. It is a chili cooking competition. So if you are interested in putting together a team to make chili and compete, we would love to have you. If you just want to come and taste all you can eat, 15, 20 different kinds of chilies, you can buy your tickets today. Skip the line or come out and support us on December 2nd. It's a really fun event, and it helps raise money for Green Spaces. And then our last event of the year is we are combining November and December green drinks into a volunteer appreciation and holiday party. So here at our offices, we're not going to be out in a different location. At our offices here, we would love to see you RSVP on our website. A small note of housekeeping: everything you are eating on is compostable. That means your cups, your forks, your napkins, your plates, all of it goes into the compost bin when you are finished. The only thing that is not compostable is your can that you may be drinking from. And we have a recycling bin for that. So please help us reduce our waste for this luncheon today. And also going to give a shout out for New Terra, who's here. If you're interested in composting, they would love to talk with you. So without further ado, I am going to pass it off to Dave and Pat, who are going to be our speakers for today. Dave is with the Building Deconstruction Institute and does consulting on deconstruction, and we are thrilled to have him. So Pat will speak towards the end, and I'm going to pass it off.
How about that? Am I unmuted? Good, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. That Build It Green program sounds interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a fantastic program. We have about 10 members right now. We'll chat more about that later, but
okay. All right, I'm trying to get. Hey, can you see my presentation? Sorry, Madison.
Yes.
Just
yes.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, got it. Let me start with this, everybody. Here's something we realized, well into this. The EPA, they say that every American wastes about 4.9 pounds of waste every day of their lives, actually. That adds up over time to about 135,000 pounds. And the reason that number meant something to me is I actually, we looked it up and we found out what is the average American home, since we're talking about averages, what does the average American home weigh? And it turns out that it is about 135,000 pounds. And so what that means is that when you demolish the average American home, it is equivalent to a lifetime's worth of waste all in one day. So that has impacted a lot of people that have said, wait a minute, I'm trying to compost my napkins. I'm trying to recycle my cans. I'm doing everything I can. And yet, if I made the choice to demolish one home, my entire allotment of waste from my entire life would be gone all in one day. So when people find out about that, a lot of them are like, wait a minute, is there an alternative to demolition, right? I don't want to waste everything in my life all in one day. So what am I going to do about it? Well, we started doing something about it. We started over 30 years ago. We started taking buildings apart and saving the parts, like diverting them from the landfill. We reuse things, we recycle things, we try to leave things intact, like when it comes to adaptive reuse of a structure, things like that. Over time, it's added up. We've diverted about 100 million pounds from the landfill. We've done over 5,000 projects now. We've created, 500 jobs. That's an old number. It's more like 1,000 jobs now that we've helped create throughout North America. We've worked throughout North America, 44 states, 5 provinces, and the numbers just keep going. But what is it we're doing? What is this? We basically, I always say, we take buildings apart and we sell the parts. Simple, right? Sometimes, we return it to the owner. Sometimes we give it away. But whatever it is, we're trying to keep those parts from being thrown away. And, we certainly are trying to recycle what we can't reuse. We do take apart buildings. We take apart other types of structures like bridges or barn, like fences, decks, whatever, all sorts of different structures. We also do products. Sometimes, in our industry, sometimes there'll be a product that needs to be disassembled. I mean, think about, what is a product? How about a car? A car gets disassembled in a scrapyard and the parts are used to repair other cars. I love that example. And then store displays, things like that, where retail spaces often turn over like every 5 years or something. They say, I need a refresh. So then they tear apart their whole store and put it back together again, even though it's in perfect shape a lot of times. So deconstruction covers a lot of ground. What we focus on, though, is like, why are we doing this? Why are we taking the hard road? Well, you might start out with Savannah, Georgia, where we are so focused on historic preservation. You can imagine why, right? You guys are pretty close to Savannah, Georgia. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, historic preservation is a big deal there, as it should be. And so we've been down there numerous times training a group down there that does that kind of work. And we do that across North America, historic preservation projects. It's very common for us to lead off by saying, hey, we help the environment. We're helping with climate change. We are, we're diverting things from landfill. We're saving resources. We're saving the forests. We also, we don't get enough credit, I don't think, for what we do for affordable housing by providing affordable building materials to the local community. And so, we have a lot of building materials that are under $10 or something, but they certainly are way cheaper than you could ever buy them new at the store. And so we're helping a lot of lower income families maintain their homes. And that has been one of the joys of my career, actually, is doing that. You know, in the past, we used to focus more on job creation and how we were creating jobs before everyone seemed to be either at work or not wanting to work. So, but now it's true that a lot of the younger generation are interested in what we're doing because they have learned in school about issues like equity and environmental issues and you know, historic preservation, things like that, that they may have learned about, and then they're like interested in and want to help with. And we offer them that opportunity all in one package. So that's amazing. So we've got a lot of younger people that are joining our industry for that reason. And then, you know, frankly, last but not least is equity and sustainability. So I think that it's something that we are very focused on, you know, that everyone's involved, everyone is benefiting from this, you know, as is the environment. So that's exciting. So let's go on to the next slide here. So it sounds great, right? We're saving the world, we're helping people out, we're helping people and the environment, and we're saving history. That all sounds great. So why isn't it being done more often, right? Well, one of the things is that we like saying that buildings seem to be designed for demolition, like they designed the building with demolition in mind. Like they're so focused on the design of the building that they forget that that building may go away someday, and it would be easier to take it apart if they didn't kind of sabotage our efforts. So what does that mean? Well, if you deal with newer buildings, actually from the 1970s on, you start seeing that things are glued together. And when you glue them together, they're hard to get apart. Maybe they're impossible to get apart, or they damage each other when you take them apart so that they're of no use to anyone anymore. So glues are not good for what we're doing. I don't know if in your area spray foam insulation is used, but I will tell you that when you spray it on something, you cannot get it off again. And so not only it may make something where you can't reuse it anymore, you also can't recycle it anymore. So if you spray it on wood, the wood recyclers don't want it because it's contaminated with spray foam. So when you spray foam, when you use spray foam, you instantly, whatever you spray it on, it turns it into instant garbage. So we don't really like that product, but I have some slides coming up that may change your mind. Fasteners, you know, like it's so easy with a nail gun to put nails in something that you might put 20 nails in something where you used to only put 2 nails. And that's a problem for us because every nail you put in, we have to take back out at some point. So we're fighting with those things. So pre-existing conditions, something like torch down roofing, right, on a flat roof. That's like a pre-existing condition. We can't do anything about it. Someone made that choice years ago. It's on there. It can't be reused. It can't be recycled. And it's a problem. It's something we have to tear off, and we don't get any benefit from that. So all of these things are challenges. You're wondering, like, why aren't people doing this? This is great. Well, they hit up against a roadblock and it stops them. The only difference with us having hit the same roadblock, we found a way around these roadblocks so we could continue down the path of saving these buildings. But every week we hit another roadblock. We just have found that we don't need to stop. We just need to divert and be creative. Okay, so other obstacles are, well, why, okay, you found some ways around some things. What are some of the things you're still fighting? Well, there are all these steps to this process. That hasn't changed. We have to go out and get this work. We have to, you know, bid on it. We have to beat machines. We are competing against machines and winning, but not every time. We have to we have to take the building apart. That's hard enough, but then we still have to process it and transport it and store it and market it and sell it and load it and things like that. But, you know, we have to do all of those things in competition with a machine that's very good at destroying and wasting everything in a very short amount of time. So people say, you're not fast enough, you're not cheap enough. Well, we've been working on that. This is one of the slides where I'm like, okay, I'm transitioning from challenges of our work to solutions or of our, you know, for our work. And jobs fall in the middle of there, because why is it a challenge? Well, it's a challenge to find enough people, let's say, but it's a benefit of being able to create a bunch of local jobs, and not just regular jobs, but like new jobs that never existed before, number one, and jobs that are good for the environment, that are good for the community, that are good for the historic preservation community, that are good for everyone. That's the idea of sustainability. This is good for everyone. So, and we offer that. There are a lot of jobs. In fact, if you looked at a machine with one person destroying and wasting everything, or you looked at a crew, an entire company of people who were saving things, not all of them are just taking the building apart. Some of them are transporting it. Some of them are in the retail stores. Some of them are in the woodworking workshops where they're making reclaimed wood furniture out of the house that was taken down. And so there's some more jobs. All of these jobs are helping out in many ways. So what did we do? I said we didn't stop. We didn't let anything stand in our way. We diverted, we were creative, we compromised, but we didn't stop. So we got to the point where we could take on a building and we could beat the demolition contractor in some cases. You know, we might have bid against them price-wise and won. We might have found a way to start the job earlier than they would have, so that we aren't taking as much time as you might think. We have figured out how to sell the material, how to derive value from the materials, so that we don't have to bid so high on the bid price. And so remember, when we do a project like what's on the screen here, we get paid twice. The demolition contractor gets paid once. They have to charge whatever they charge because that's all they get. And they spend a lot of money throwing stuff away. We get paid twice. The owner of the building pays us once, and then when we sell the materials, we get paid again. Okay, that's twice. So people say, how could you possibly compete price-wise with a machine? Well, there's one way. We don't spend as much money throwing stuff away, and we get paid twice. So that's one way. How do you compete time-wise? Well, we're getting better. We're getting faster at taking buildings apart. Sometimes it only takes 3, 4, 5 days. And a lot of projects say, I can handle that. I think I can handle that. I was thinking it would take the demo person 1 or 2 days. So we're okay with, you know, we kind of allotted that whole week for demolition. So we're okay. So now, time-wise, we're doing okay. Cost-wise, we're doing okay. And we've got a few other tricks that help us do that. So that's how we've been figuring things out. Here's another way we figured things out. I hope you all can see what that is. That is an intact wall that a crane is lifting off a building and putting it onto somebody's trailer, right? What is the significance of that? And why are we doing that? Well, one of the things I realized was that I could take a wall apart, I could pull all the nails, and I could sell you all the wood, and I could ask you, what are you going to do with the wood? And you'd say, I'm going to build a wall. And I'd be like, what? Why did I just took that wall apart? Why don't I just sell you the wall? Why don't I just sell you an intact wall? All you're building is a storage shed. All you're building is a chicken coop. You know, all you're doing is building an ag building for your horses or something like that. So why not? And so we started selling people sections of floor, sections of wall, intact staircases, intact engineered trusses, and they were buying them. And I didn't have to take them apart. They didn't have to put them back together. You could construct a building in one day, a little storage building, because all it was is a bunch of big chunks that you set together. And we've done it hundreds of times. So I guess it works. But one of the things about it, it makes deconstruction faster because I don't have to spend so much time taking the building apart. You don't have to spend so much time putting it back together. That's a good thing. But it also makes deconstruction cheaper because I don't have to take the building apart all the way. And I don't need as many people. I don't need as many days. So I'm giving you all my tricks. You don't even, you can do it tomorrow, I guess. You don't need me anymore. Anyway, that's one of the things that we've been doing. Now, I said that buildings were designed to be demolished. It feels like it sometimes, but sometimes it feels like they actually were designed for me to take apart, like they were thinking of me. And so what's happening with architecture now is architects are looking past the building to the end of the building and saying, what could I do to design a structure so that it would be easier to take apart? And so that's some hope for the future, right? We're talking about the future. The future, buildings may be designed to be disassembled, where there's something about the design that makes it easier to take apart. Maybe it's built in panels like walls, intact walls that are prefabricated, and then you could take it back apart because it's all bolted together or something like that. Well, in this case, here's an example of an old timber cabin, interlocking. There aren't any nails in the wall. There's no glue. There's no weather stripping or anything like that. There's no caulking. These just fit together so tightly that they create a cabin structure, which is absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, today it would be really expensive with, to find that kind of cedar. But it was super easy to take apart because it was super easy to put together. That's why they designed it to be easy to assemble, and it made it easy to disassemble. Okay. What were these people thinking? Here's a structural steel building. It is screwed together. It is bolted together. It is very easy for me to take apart, and there is absolutely no waste at all. Zero. We saved every piece of the building. I guess you could say if we stripped out some of the fasteners that they didn't get reused, or that somebody said, I'm going to use new fasteners just to be safe. Well, we saved the fasteners anyway. So this building we labeled every single piece. We took it apart carefully. We loaded on their truck, and they brought it to their property, and they reassembled it after they got the permit and the permission to do so. The engineering of the building was still sound, and so they passed inspection and were allowed to reassemble it. Isn't that great? No, you didn't need to glue anything together. There were only a couple of things that were welded together that we had to cut the welds, but otherwise every single piece of this building was reused. And I love that. But the thing is, if you design in garbage into a structure, you're going to get garbage out of a structure. And so so we often talk with people about, like, what is the next step for buildings? Well, not like this. So we've been working on this for decades. We've been making a lot of progress. We've helped start 85 new reuse businesses over that time. So there's a lot of us doing it now. And that's great. But here's the thing. We realize it's still really hard. And you go into a new community, and let's say it's Chattanooga, and you're like, how are we going to get this going? This sounds really hard. And it's a lot of work for any individual. And it's like, okay, but what if we work together? So the Reuse Innovation Center is the embodiment of that concept. The idea that I'm so busy taking buildings apart, I'm going to focus on that. And somebody else is like, I'm so busy making reclaimed wood furniture that I don't have time to take buildings apart. And in the middle is this reuse center where, you know, the materials are sold and these connections are made. So what we do is when we start a Reuse Innovation Center, we usually start or help connect 10 different businesses together. Some of them generate supply. They take the buildings apart. Some of them are the demand. They need the materials to make their furniture. So when somebody's taking the house apart and somebody's building furniture, though that house wood is going to that furniture maker. And so that's just a sampling of the connections of how it all works, how we all work together to make this work. And so that we add value to material, we help each other, we share expenses, we might co-locate at the same facility, like something like what's on the screen here. But the great news is that you're reusing, you're recycling, you are repairing things, you're remanufacturing things like making that furniture, and you're even involving someone who does reinstallation, like a contractor who's willing to install reclaimed wood floor in a 120-year-old home, right? That home doesn't want new flooring that wouldn't look normal in an old home. They want reclaimed, and we have that, and we have a contractor who's willing to install it. So we do all things from saving it from the landfill to reinstalling it in someone's home. And we make things out of our materials and we recycle them, we repair them if they're broken, things like that. All of those things are happening at the Reuse Innovation Center. And this concept is spreading throughout the US and Canada now. We have 3 locations in Canada that we're talking with. We have already 4 Reuse Innovation Center operations going on now, with another 3 on the way in the US. Well, hopefully on the way. It's very slow process to get funding and things like that. But it's exciting. Maybe you guys will want to try it locally. There's an example of one of the products. Anyway, last slide. In the future, you know, like if you guys could envision this in your community, there's so many good things that come out of it. Some of it are more technical things, like, oh, we could create cross-laminated timbers here using, you know, our reclaimed, you know, wood, or we could start a Reuse Innovation Center. We could start producing engineered wood out of reclaimed. We could start selling those fabricated, you know, prefabricated panels from buildings, and we could just really work together to create zero waste efforts. So there's so many good things that come out of this. Anyway, here we are flying around one of the Reuse Innovation Centers, and you can see they've got a lot of wood. There's just a lot of wood in buildings, so we get a lot of wood. But anyway, that's all I had. Turn it over to Pat.
All right.
Dave, thank you very much for the great work you're doing out in Washington and you know, across the country. We have Pat here, who is going to talk to us about trying to bring that culture of reuse here to Chattanooga. Pat is very passionate since I met you. It has been something that you've had a vision for, and you started, was it last year, the Deconstruction?
2 years.
2 years ago, the Deconstruction Advisory Board. So I'm going to hand it over to her and let her go from here.
Okay. Hey, thank you all. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. Yes, and thank you, David, also for being with us, joining us today. I began the Deconstruction Advisory Board, like she said, a couple years ago in 2021. I moved to Chattanooga area in 2019, basically because I moved here and I saw a need. The Deconstruction Advisory Board is a diverse group of like-minded individuals many of them experts in their own fields who want to help Chattanooga stop throwing it all away and progress forward toward zero waste goal. Now, Felix Heisel is his name, is assistant professor of architecture and director at the Circular Construction Lab in Cornell University. And he said, today's waste is only called that because we are missing the tools right now to understand it as materials. And the Deconstruction Advisory Board is here to advise and bring awareness, education, and understanding of the benefits of deconstruction versus demolition, and to think big, which is what Mayor Kelly and Mayor Wamp have challenged all of us to do here in Chattanooga area. Now, when I speak to anyone about deconstruction, they usually have four main questions: cost, time, space, and labor. I'm going to begin with cost, because David talked a little bit about that. But yes, deconstruction can cost more than demolition, but there's a lot I learned in my 30 years in the building industry is contractors are notoriously reluctant to do anything other than what has always been done. And so just because someone might pay less for and use the least expensive way doesn't mean that that's the choice that everyone wants. I was a window and door specialist in the building industry, and new technology always seems to cost more than when it first comes out. Like my first microwave cost $400, believe it or not, and that, you know, that we're talking back in the 80s. And that was a big investment for somebody making $15,000 a year. But now you can buy it for $39.99. I mean, new technology seems to always cost more sometimes. That was true in the building industry. As a good example was low E energy efficient glass. Now, when that first came out, it was a very expensive ad for someone to put into their window. And contractors said, people won't use it. People won't pay for it. We can't afford to put it in the houses. So make our houses too expensive. But when people really understood the option that they had and understood the benefits of that glass, like fading on their carpeting and fading on their furniture and lower energy bills, then they saw the value in it, and they were willing to pay that higher cost, like they do sometimes, David said, because there's a value in it for them. Now, deconstruction costs more right now in a lot of cases than demolition costs, but demolition costs are rising. We have to think about that. Landfills reach capacity, they start charging higher dumping fees. The waste has to be transported further, which adds to their cost. And new landfills have to be built. I mean, not everybody raise their hand. Who wants the city council or the county commissioners to approve a new landfill in your neighborhood? Anyone? Oh, someone said yes. Hi, come on, guys. The average bulldozer's lifespan is 8 to 10 years. So for most contractors, and they're expensive to replace. I've had this hammer in my flat bar for a long time. This is not an expensive item, and it's very easy to replace. It's important. So what I'm trying to say is it's important that we begin now to have a viable deconstruction option here for people in Chattanooga and the Hamilton County. Other areas in the country are working on their own plans, like I think it's pronounced Hennepin County in Minneapolis area. They have actually set up a grant program offering homeowners and developers of residential properties as much as $5,000 to help offset the cost that might be associated with deconstruction versus demolition. So there are plans out there in place. Next, I want to talk a little bit about time. And like David said, deconstruction can take longer than demolition. But deconstruction might take 2 weeks or so. But, you know, in demolition, the big bulldozer comes in, it, you know, tears it down in a day, it sends it to the dumpster and it ends up in a landfill somewhere. So it can be very fast, as David was talking about. So I ask you to think about this as it relates to time. Demolition typically happens in the neighborhoods where homes are closer together and they were built on smaller lots. Now, the EPA estimates that demolition dust and harmful particulates from demolition can travel 400 to 600 feet. Now, that's depending on the wind, of course, and that's 2 football fields. Now, the experts say that demolition dust is temporary, but they can't give me a specific time. So I was recently talking to someone who was in a historic neighborhood here in Chattanooga, and they had a home demolished in their neighborhood, and the young children were out playing with masks on. So when we talk about time, I asked, how much time after a demolition does a child with asthma have to stay inside and not play outside in their own backyard or ride the street or ride their bicycle down the street to the local park? You know, how much time does an elderly woman who doesn't drive anymore, she gets a lot of pleasure from going out in the morning and having a morning coffee on her front porch. She waits on her front porch in the afternoon for her children to walk to her house after school. How many days does it take for the demolition dust to blow down to the next block till she can safely sit on her front porch again? And how many days is it unhealthy for her grandchildren to walk to her home? The demolition contractors their need for speed benefits, as David said, one company and a bulldozer operator who they employ or they hire. One Chattanooga company, one operator. That is all. And maybe a landfill business out there somewhere. The slower pace of deconstruction is beneficial to everyone else in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. Now, the next question I always get, I'm going to go to another slide here. Whoops, it's not moving. Oh, help me, Madison. The next question I always get is, Pat, where are you going to put all this stuff? You know, where do you have space to store all this? There we go. Store all this materials. Well, when you begin a deconstruction program in a area, you do not need to start out with a vast amount of items. The image that you have, like of the warehouse, all stacked full of reclaimed lumber, it doesn't happen that way when you start the program. And if you design for deconstruction, you may never need that large building. And I'm going to give you an example of how that works. The photo I have up on the screen is a home on 30th Street here in Chattanooga, abandoned home. Now, I did not have access to the interior of the home, but I did assess the exterior of this home. Now, the porch columns are in really good shape. The foundation is solid brick. It has a long wall of beautiful, in my opinion, flat stone. And say the city gets approval to remove this home. With the design for deconstruction, the city would then allow me to go in, and I'm retired. I'm not here starting a new business. I'm not here starting a new non-for-profit. I'm a retired person who's passionate about not throwing good usable materials away. And so I go in and I assess what's in the home and the inventory of the materials. Now, I did this on the house for Habitat in Indiana. And so I'm going to use the interior pictures as an example. These are from the home in Indiana, but I'm going to use them to illustrate how this works. So so pretend that these photos are from the house on 30th Street. So if I go into that home, the first call I make is to Habitat for Humanity. And I say to them, hey, I have 10 really nice recessed flat panel interior doors and a wood corner cabinet. Would the store want them for resale? It has beautiful wood floors. If Habitat does not want those floors for their restores, then I might call Preserve Chattanooga or the Homeowners Association in a historic district and ask them if anyone wants these floors. The Deconstruction Advisory Board, which consists of, I'll go through a quick list, obviously green spaces, regional planning, Habitat for Humanity, the Chat State, University of, or UTC, we have non-for-profits, city organizations, the art community. We have about 20 people of really diverse backgrounds on the Deconstruction Board. So the Deconstruction Board currently then will keep a registry of the non-for-profits in town who can use these materials for their projects, like green spaces and the Build It Green program, high school and college construction classes, at the new Career Construction Center. Now in Muncie, Indiana, where I live, we had what we called back to school teacher store. And the back to school teacher store took all kinds of paper, pens, just all kinds of materials, because teachers are notorious for being very creative. So you could donate anything to the back to school teacher store, and then any person or teacher in the county could come into the back to school teacher store and get their products for free. And I anticipate that happening as far as not only with the construction schools and whatever in Chattanooga, but also 4-H clubs, Boys and Girls Scouts, local artists like Artsville, animal rescue organizations who might want materials to build dog houses, neighborhood organizations who might want to build little free libraries in their neighborhood. Now, in the end, there might be a few materials left over, but I think we can find a building here somewhere or some donated space that we can store those temporarily. And my goal in the next 5 to 10 years is that I see a reuse innovation center, just like the one that David talked about. And I've got a photo and you can pass that around if anybody wants to look closer at it. And that is being operated at the new Chattanooga Career and Technical School, where instead of the Deconstruction Advisory Board, the students are then in charge of requests for deconstructed materials from the non-for-profits in the community. And also at the Reuse Innovation Center, they're learning important skills like business, logistics, marketing, and community organizing, along with their construction, architecture, and their visual aid schools. Now, last on my list is the question about labor. I was first told when I started talking to people in Chattanooga, they said, Chattanooga is not set up for deconstruction. Well, right now that's true. And it's kind of like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So I'll give you 2 examples of cities that had failed deconstruction programs, and they both had to do, the failure had to do with the labor. First, I saw firsthand in the city where I was living in Muncie, Indiana, and they got really excited about deconstruction and they trained some work crews, but they did not establish a culture of progress for the use of the materials. So eventually, and they didn't train, and the crews were only trained on deconstruction. They didn't offer them any other skills. So when the crews had fewer jobs, then the program eventually fell apart, unfortunately. The second program was in Milwaukee, and they got all real excited about their deconstruction program, and they passed a policy, and they got all excited about it, but they had to suspend the program because they realized they didn't have anybody trained to do it. Now that's, I think, about 4 years ago or so. I think they're trying to get their program up and running again. But any successful program has to begin with education and training. And this is my exciting news today, is we are bringing here to Chattanooga a 2-day introduction to deconstruction workshop. Now, this workshop is being funded by the Department of Planning and the Regional Planning Agency, and it will be free to the public. We'll have 45 openings available for that 2-day program, and it will be downtown at the Innovation Center. And let me know, I have a sign-up sheet here. Let me know if you'd like to be interested in that. And you can be on the list. We will provide lunch both of those days for the 2-day program. And you can also learn more in the meantime. On the back of my card, I gave some of you my card, but if not, I'll give it to you after the program. There's 2 important things on there. One's called the box truck film. If you've never seen the box truck film, it's very interesting. And my goal, after you watch that, is to bring a mobile reuse deconstruction educational exhibit similar to what you see on the film to travel around to schools and county fair. Don't forget the county fair this weekend. Festivals and events here in the teaching about reuse and deconstruction. And also on the back of the card is a webinar, a website for Recapture It, and they offer free webinars. And actually, David's going to be on one of their webinars tomorrow discussing urban mining. So you can also learn more before we start our deconstruction workshop here in Chattanooga. You can learn more by going to both of those sites. So I'm going to end this program with a stairway. Now, I showed this photo to the participants at the Build It Green program. And I asked them, what would you do with these stairs? Now, the first person said they would build a bookcase. And I envisioned them becoming a custom home builder or custom furniture builder. They might have a shop at the Reuse Innovation Center. They build interior furniture. They build exterior furniture. If they had the right tools, they could start a new business. Maybe they call it Scenic City Custom Furniture. And every label on their furniture said proudly handmade from reclaimed materials in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now that's business development, that's economic development, that's a positive message for Chattanooga. The next person I spoke to said they would build a ramp. Now again, if they're given the right tools, they will help those in the community who have challenges with stairs. And along with being a deconstruction contractor, they will also be a certified age-in-place contractor, and they'll be skilled at retrofitting homes for the elderly so they can remain in their homes, saving costs for them in the community. They will also, I envision them also volunteering their time to take reclaimed wood to build elevated gardens for people with disabilities and elderly, so they can continue to enjoy their gardening and maybe plant a few pansies or tomato plants. The last one said they would create art. Now they will beautify our communities. Maybe they begin an internship at a local interior design company where they will combine the welding skills that they learned with reclaimed wood to build one-of-a-kind works of art that will help the already established business grow. And maybe they will learn the skills to one day open their own design firm here in Chattanooga. Now, these young people saw an opportunity in the stairway. They saw value in not throwing it away. I believe in these young people, and they had to leave, but I hope they were here for me to say, tell them, I believe in these young people. And given the right tools, they will see a future for themselves here in Chattanooga, and we will all benefit from their creativity. As Maya Angelou said, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Now, long time ago, probably 20 years ago, I took a seminar at the Koch Environmental Center in Richmond, Indiana, about sustainable building techniques. And in that seminar, at the end, the instructor said something that I never forgot. And he said, if the technology is there and you don't utilize it, that's a freedom that you have. That's the freedom all of us have. He said, just be prepared to look into the eyes of your grandchildren and tell them why you did. Now, at the time, I didn't have any grandchildren, but I found his words inspiring. I never imagined the one day to have grandchildren. And some of you may not imagine you having grandchildren. But I ask you to look at mine, all three brothers there. I want you to remember their faces. One born in Seattle, one born here in Chattanooga, the last one born in Texas. And I want you to imagine their future and your future. Look at their smiles. And I hope one day that you will be able to have, three of these little guys in your life and girls, hopefully, not for me, but maybe for you. And I hope you will be able to look in their eyes and tell them about the deconstruction road to zero waste and how taking it made all the difference. So that's my presentation. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for David or I?
Any questions from the room? Bruce?
Yes.
Yeah, say a little bit about the advisory board. When do they meet? What's the structure of the board, and what is the contact with the board intended to be?
For those online, the question was asking Pat to elaborate more on the Deconstruction Advisory Board.
And I have a card here, but the Deconstruction Advisory Board, now we met like once a year. This is how we started out our first meeting last year, and then we had another meeting this year. The structure of the board right now, I bring these groups of people together and we pass around ideas. The main goal at the beginning, at my first meeting, was to bring this 2-day introduction to deconstruction workshop, and to also begin having deconstruction taught at our universities and our schools. And I am proud to say one person on the board from Chat State, she's going to be incorporating deconstruction into her classes next spring. So we're young, we're just, it's anyone from the community can contact me and say, hey, I want to be part of this conversation. It's not limited. It's very flexible.
You have another meeting set?
I do not have another meeting set at this time, but we will probably have one before the meeting next year, before the workshop, for sure. We're just getting new. Everybody's learning about the process, so it took me a while to meet with people and explain the process and kind of talk about the goals.
We got time for probably one more question. Yep.
Is there any update on what will happen to the materials that come out of the Walnut Street Bridge repair?
I
We don't know yet.
have no idea. Yes, I mean, that's. I mean, that's what we're doing, is we have to educate. You know, people have to know that it's an option. They have to know that there's things they can do with these materials, and that materials do not have to go to landfill. There are people who could use the materials. There are people who could value those materials. We just have to make the connection. We haven't made a connection, but we will. I have no doubt.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming today. Can we give one more round of applause for Todd and Dave? Thank you for coming out. I hope to see you at the chili cook-off. I hope to see you at Green Drinks. If you have not eaten or are not full, we have plenty of food. Please go make yourself a plate and take one for the road too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks.